And we are live. Let's get started. All right. Welcome to the 5 shifts you need to go from transitional stress, anxiety, and depression to powerfully aligned and living on purpose. It is great to have you here. I just want to say who this is for to start off. Let's just jump right in. All right, this is for busy individuals and professionals or entrepreneurs who are feeling stressed, depressed, and anxious through a transitional period. It's also for individuals feeling disconnected from themselves, drifting and lost and paralyzed by uncertainty. It's for people who are going through a transition like a divorce or breakup, which is very common to feel that when you're going through that breakup scenario, this uncertainty, this fear of the future, this resentment, it just all adds up to a mess. And believe me, I know what that's like. It's for people feeling isolated and stuck, unable to have relationships that are authentic, living without any particular structure or plan to love your life from that space. Then this is the training for you. Because in the next 60 minutes, we're going to go over how to clear anxiety, depression, and overwhelm without doing years of counseling or therapy. We're also going to talk about getting deep, sound sleep without medications, even if you have a lot on your mind. We're going to also talk about the way to get your sparkle back when you felt like you've lost it without having to take drugs or drink. Believe me, it's possible. In the next 45 to 60 minutes, we're going to talk about how to connect deeper with yourself and have more authentic relationships with others, including your partner. God forbid. We're going to also talk about how to transition from being stuck in your life to taking action with power into fulfillment and making an impact like a ripple effect on those around you. I'm going to talk about the 4 critical pillars we've never been taught in school how to master of power, freedom, and full self-expression without anxiety. But my biggest promise to you is that by the end of this webinar, you're going to get 5 actionable steps you can implement today to go from stressed, depressed, and anxious to living powerfully aligned permanently. Now, like I said, there is nothing for sale on this webinar, but if you stick with me to the end, 45 to 60 minutes, you'll look at your life and story much differently and have a shift in your thinking, in your way of being and thinking, and you will have actionable steps that you can take immediately to transform into power and freedom and full self-expression. I promise. Now, does this sound like you? Are you going through an identity crisis? Do you feel disconnected from yourself and others and don't know who you are sometimes? Have you felt a loss of power and freedom in your life as of late? Are you feeling overwhelmed or underwhelmed in a career you don't enjoy? Maybe you're stuck in between. Now, are you earning a living, getting paid, but feel bored or maybe even burnt out? Do you get symptoms like feeling stuck, anxious, and depressed? And has that been trickling into other areas of your life? Is your digestion and hormonal health starting to be affected? Are you tired of pretending to be okay? Are you still holding on to so much resentment, grief, anger, and or guilt that it actually weighs on you? You feel the heaviness of it and you can't sleep at night. In other words, you're struggling with insomnia because of your emotional triggers. Or are your addictions, whether it be food or gambling or sex or drinking or partying, are they starting to take over, attempting to cover up your feelings of inadequacy, but failing miserably, if you can be honest? Do you feel paralyzed, uncertain, and fearful, like you know things should change, but you're wondering what the next move should be? Or are you procrastinating in your life? Do you notice yourself looking around and seeing nothing but seemingly happy and wealthy people around you and you feel hopeless? And is this killing your confidence and self-esteem? Or maybe you're 10 to 20 pounds overweight and you look in the mirror and you're being honest and you need more motivation to take action. Strap onto your seats, because if you are sick of not feeling healthy, connected, and powerful at work, in your personal life and in your relationships, this is the place for you. But the real problem, that's not the problem, what I've discovered. Those, what I talked about there, aren't the real problem. The real problem is that you haven't made the shifts. Because once you make these shifts, you all of a sudden, you have increased self-confidence. Your thoughts start sounding self-affirming rather than constantly bashing yourself. You stop looking at others for approval because you found it within yourself. You make these shifts and your body and mind start to heal. You have less aches and pains. You feel energized. Both hormonal problems and digestive issues resolve, and in turn, your insomnia dissolves and your sleep improves. Once you make these shifts, instead of overwhelm, you have control of your day. You show up a better version of yourself for others. Resentments in your relationships even dissolve. You start being there for family and friends, and you start noticing that they actually want to show up for you as well. Your circle of influence starts to expand. You also, once you make these shifts, you start to become conscious and purposeful with your money. In turn, you start to make more money for you to keep managing at higher levels. Why? Because you feel worthy of receiving. You no longer actually need to hide socially. Who you have become, the way that you look, because at that point you've lost about 10 to 20 pounds, you're feeling more fit and stronger. It's something you're proud of. It's not something you want to hide. You wanting to get out there more. And you attract the partner you've always wanted, either in a new form, or the partner that you already have starts to shift and become the partner you've always wanted because of the person you've become. Or if that's not you, you stay happily single because you're not desperate to fill a void within yourself codependently. And you know exactly what I'm talking about here. The one thing that you need to know, the one thing, is that by making these 5 simple shifts, you can get past transitional stress, anxiety, and depression and create your best year ever. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to make those shifts today. So grab a pen, strap onto your seats, and here we go. But first of all, who the heck am I, and why should you be listening to me? Well, my name's Dr. Nima Rahmani. I've been practicing as a chiropractor with one of the largest multidisciplinary, with one of the largest multidisciplinary wellness centers in British Columbia. It's a $1 million practice for the past 15 years, just loving it, crushing it. And I've also been 10 years as a facilitator for John Demartini's Demartini method. In other words, I, possibly like you, am a personal development junkie. I'm also a student of Byron Katie's, of Andrew Bernstein, Werner Erhard. In other words, Tony Robbins. In other words, I can't get enough. I have had mentors almost all my life to help me transition and level myself up. And I just absolutely am obsessed with learning. And when the teacher is ready, the students appear. When the students are ready, the teacher appears. It works both ways. I'm also certified in lifestyle sciences with the International Chiropractors Association, specifically under Dr. James Chestnut, another one of my mentors. And I am the creator of the Overview Method, which is a distillation of Dr. John Demartini's method, of Byron Katie's method, Werner Erhard's work. I've taken everything from all of my mentors. I've distilled it in a very simple to follow methodology that helps you dissolve resentment, regret, and helps you level yourself up and connect to a cause that's greater than you. And I'm also an international speaker, coach, and facilitator. Trainings all over the world teaching people how to transition from stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and depression, transforming into powerfully aligned living on purpose. And couple years ago, I had it in my head that, you know what, it's not that fulfilling for me to just deal with back pain, neck pain. I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I put in my vision statement, got the mentoring, that I wanted to travel around the world and speak and teach. And I took a huge risk. I left my practice to the hands of who were there to cover my patients. And I took off around the world and things started looking up. One meeting led to another, and one stage led to another. And I kept getting referrals and referrals, and things started expanding so much that lo and behold, a year ago, here I am, boom, in the middle of Malaga, Spain, speaking to an audience of 500 chiropractors, sharing my message. And it was as though my dreams were coming true. As you can see, I'm pretty stoked in this photograph. I was traveling around the world speaking. But what happened was I kind of lost sight of the realities of my practice, and my associates, instead of purchasing the practice, we couldn't agree on a price. They ended up going 3 kilometers down the road, and it forced me to have to sell my practice at a fraction of what the cost was when I purchased it. And it just sent me into a tailspin of depression. It was probably the greatest challenge of my life. In fact, when I sold my practice, one of the greatest depressions and anxiety state that I've ever been in. I mean, I was sitting there, this was Canada Day celebration back in July. And I was just sitting there. This is me trying to be festive, wearing my Canada flag. And here I am trying to be present with my family. My uncle takes a snapshot of a photograph. I just wasn't there. I wasn't even posing for this picture. He sent me this photo, and you can see at that time, I was going through the worst identity crisis. I had lost my purpose. I had lost my freedom, my ability to self-express. I couldn't even get up on stage to speak. I couldn't even post on Facebook, on social media. I went into hiding. I stopped taking care of myself. I gained weight. It was probably the worst experience of my life. So then what I did was I made 5 critical shifts. And I invested in coaching. I just went to work on myself. I put pedal to the metal. I started practicing what I was teaching other people. And within a few months, I was hiding from my family. I didn't even want to go see my brother, my cousins. Family was so important. But months later, within the next 6 months, here I am. This was back in Christmas holidays here in Phoenix, visiting my cousin, this was his 50th birthday. I found my sparkle back. The difference between that picture on the left and the one on the right is 6 months, and you can visibly see it. I mean, if you can look, I call it the bitch ditch. It's those little frown lines, those little brow lines that really demonstrate you're not doing well. If you look in a mirror and you can see those lines really deep, but burrowing into your forehead, you're holding a lot of tension. And it's unconscious most of the time. And when I went to work on myself, it's kind of like a natural Botox. You become more youthful. You become more, that light comes back in your eyes. And that was me. So basically, what I joke about this is that not only am I the president, I'm also a client of my new company, Powerfully Aligned, where I basically now work part-time as a chiropractor and full-time as a coach, a mental optimization coach, helping busy professionals, entrepreneurs transition from stressed, depressed, and anxious to having their best year ever. And the discovery of these 5 shifts was basically a autobiographical one. So again, not only am I the president, I'm also a client, and I'm going to share these 5 shifts with you today. And the 5 key shifts, there are 5 key shifts you need to make in order to clear transitional overwhelm, stress, anxiety, and depression, and have your best year ever professionally and personally. It's turned out to be an incredible one. That experience that I went through ended up being a gift. Now, start writing things down. Shift number one. If you're not living with purpose, you're dying. That's right. Anything without a purpose is actually dying. So what we do, you need to start with a sole purpose statement with morning rituals. The first shift is really about that. You can call it a mission statement, if you will, or tied into morning rituals. And of course, we talk about exercise and nutrition, but you already know about exercise and nutrition. You already know about, to clear anxiety and stress, exercise is a big part of that. I include that in the morning rituals. You need to have these nailed down. The research is very clear on this. It says greater purpose in life is associated with a reduced risk of all-cause mortality among community-dwelling older persons. The association of purpose in life with mortality did not vary by age, gender, education, or race. In other words, if you aren't connected to a cause greater than you, then your health turns to crap. And your health includes mental health. And this is based on a research by a group of people in Boyle, Barnes, Buchanan, and Bennett in an article titled "Purpose in Life is Associated with Mortality Among Community-Dwelling Older Person" in the journal Psychosomatic Medicine. Now, when you get this right, it's incredible. You have a direction in your life that you're tied to each and every day, and an anchor to deal with the stresses and challenges moving forward. You'll have a better ability to see things as on the way rather than in the way. And you will be connected to a powerful identity that you are able to create on your own, and an inspiring purpose daily skyrockets because you are clear on who is showing up in every interaction. And you determine this at the beginning of each day. It is critical that you get this right. But if you don't have this right, you find yourself comparing yourself to others. You find yourself feeling resentful of your past, holding on to grief and regret. You'll constantly be feeling like you don't know which direction you're headed, feeling indecisive and uncomfortable in your skin all the time. Now, this is the basis, I've discovered, of anxiety, depression, and overwhelm, which is sad because when you go to the doctor with these symptoms, they never ask you about that. They just are often quick to just medicate, especially if you go to a psychiatrist. I know that's disruptive to say. I know that's controversial, but I have got the data to prove it. Now, case study number one, Prabjhot, who's in my Powerfully Aligned Mastermind group. She's struggling with depression. She's been diagnosed by her doctor, lack of energy, on the brink of separation from her husband. She was also medicated. She was also recommended to take antidepressants. She was completely lost, no sense of purpose, and of course, when you're feeling so crappy about yourself and depressed, getting a job is not really on the horizon. She was out of work at the time. So what we did, we created a mission statement together that was in alignment with her values that she was inspired by. She started a mission statement every single day that she was connected to, determining who she was going to show up as in every interaction in her life. And within 4 weeks, her depression lifted. She mended her relationship with her husband. And guess what? She got a job. And she was a stand for other people within her work. She discovered that it wasn't all about her and her problems, that she could actually transcend those and be there for others. And the coolest part about this kind of thing, when mind, is to see this transformation. And the discovery for her was that the diagnosis that she had actually held her back. When you are stuck on a diagnosis, you get actually convinced that your choices don't matter. And never once in those doctor's visits or counselor's appointments is there any direct connection to a cause greater than you. That is the first shift excuse me, that is critical for you to connect with as a cause that's greater than you. It's just pretty amazing to see when you do that. Make sure that's the first shift that you make. Shift number two, forget the concept of forgiveness. That's right, forget forgiveness. Put it aside. What do I mean by that? I mean beyond forgiveness. We're talking beyond radical forgiveness is to dissolve resentment and regret. The highest form of forgiveness is the authentic recognition that everything served you and there is nothing to forgive. Now, I know that's a tall order for most people. Most people, it's a stretch to even get to forgiveness, but I'm willing to tell you, I see it on social media all the time. I believe in forgiveness. I choose to forgive my horrible monster of a father. That is completely inauthentic. You can feel it, you can sense it. The highest form of forgiveness is the authentic recognition where you know that everything served you so much, there is nothing to forgive, and you can actually get there. Because when you understand what this is all about, is that resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die, you realize you got some work to do. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying with the right mentorship, you can get there. Now, this is where a tool like the overview method, well, it's showing how what you went through is on the way rather than in the way. And you really need to know what your mission is in order to get there. So first step is the mission statement. Second is to dissolve this concept of forgiveness and really get to a state of unconditional love and gratitude. Now, Marie, case study number 2. Marie was suffering for 1 year of depression, anxiety, digestive problems. And of course, offered medications. She tried going to doctors, counselors, and specialists. Turned out she came to see me. We went through a consult, and it turned out to be tied in to a resentment of a past story. She was really holding on to a story of infidelity from her husband. We got to work. We went to work, and man, what a transformation it was. The doctors basically don't teach you how to clear the story. There's only a limited time in the doctor visit. It's up to you to get the work done and get the right guidance to do that. So we shifted her focus. She completely changed her story, saw how it wasn't in the way, it was on the way. Now, please note, I'm not condoning infidelity. I'm saying a lot of times people suffer from depression. They're going through a transition. Maybe you're stuck in a relationship because of infidelity. I'm here to tell you, infidelity is either a way out or a way back in. And just by changing her story, it was incredible what we saw. This was really interesting because she basically, after we changed her story, that depression and anxiety also was causing to digestive problems and food sensitivities. She couldn't eat cheese, she couldn't eat dairy, she couldn't eat gluten, she couldn't eat certain foods, and it wasn't all her life. She started developing this after that whole story happened. So within 3 weeks, she had a complete turnaround, and the coolest part is that and I get, by the way, I get full permission to share. They post in the group, in the Art of Powerful Alignment group, and it was incredible to see that not only was she able to mend her relationship with her husband, which was stronger than ever, but digestive symptoms started to change. She went back home to her hometown in Montreal. She could drink wine, have cheese, and eat the foods that she couldn't for the entire year because she was stuck on resentment. We went beyond, and she had tried the whole forgiveness BS that really didn't work. Now, I know that's disruptive. I know that pisses some people off, but I'm saying the highest form of forgiveness is the authentic recognition that everything served you and there is nothing to forgive. You can get there, willing to do the work. Now, I want you to really understand and consider that you might be in a perpetual state of victimhood and mental optimization. Your health, your digestion, your healing, all of that healing is impossible if you're holding on to resentment. Now, I've discovered anxiety is a projection of the future, and depression is an interpretation from the past. There's usually a should statement. It should have been different. And once you dissolve those beliefs, life completely turns around. You're able to transform how you feel. Anxiety, depression dissolves, you level up in your life. Because holding on to these things causes you to isolate. Your world actually becomes all about scarcity. and separation and competition. When you hold on to resentment, you lose sight of who you are and why you're even here. You can't see the fog from the tree, the forest from the trees. You can't see your purpose because the fog of resentment is actually clouding you. And once these are clear, you regain your access to freedom, power, and full self-expression. And like in Marie's case, your health starts to improve. Now, this can be done for even the worst things that you've been through. I know, I get it. It's been tough. Dr. Nima, you don't know how tough I've had it. I get it. I've heard it all before. I'm telling you, it can be transformed. Because if you don't complete this part, you'll always be walking around a victim to your past. Your future will then be a repeat of the past because you're constantly repeating your story, and through your language, you're tossing it into your future, and you repeat, 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 and a lesson is repeated until learned. The universe is trying to get you to love all parts of your life, even the parts you resent, and your vision will be clouded. You'll be triggered over and over and over and over again. The third one is to make up and move forward. What do I mean by that? Is basically, it's really about relationship integrity cleanup. In other words, most people self-destruct their own relationships and don't know about it. We are too busy in looking good and being right to really own up to our part of the mess. But guess what? This was a big eye-opener for me when I realized this, and I went through my shifts and I took action and I got the coaching and I got the mentorship, is that life is all about how we relate to one another. In other words, you live your life through your relationships. Relationships make up your entire life, And in order for you to be mentally clear, optimized for productivity, free, fully self-expressed, there has to be a restoration of integrity in all relationships that haven't been working. I know, we're talking about the past. We're talking about people that you just don't want to talk to, people who you're afraid of, people who you're so angry with, people who you are scared of or you feel guilt about. Any relationship that is out of integrity is blocking your ability for mental optimization, and it's basically causing your life to not be working. Because the result of shifting this, when you restore this integrity, you feel a full sense of freedom and lightness. You stop actually, interesting thing, you stop actually running away from people or avoiding people. If you catch yourself saying, I don't want to go to this party, I don't want to go there because I don't want to run into so-and-so, you're actually not living with freedom. It sucks. Your life isn't working in that space. You regain power where you felt it was lost, and your sense of connection deepens. Trust me, it's unbelievable what happens when you restore integrity, and others begin to open up to you as you feel your strength resulting in your vulnerability. That's right. It's not easy. Restoring integrity is very difficult. That's one of the most resistances that you'll feel. You will, my coaching clients, my clients, they're constantly resisting this one. It is challenging, but the freedom you feel by getting vulnerable, owning up to things, putting yourself on the line is powerful. Dee Dee was an incredible case study. She is an advertising professional struggling with anxiety, depression, hormonal imbalances, lack of connection with herself and others, constantly feeling isolated, depressed, and wondering what the heck's the matter. 7 or 8 years ago, has completely lost touch with her brother, lost touch with her ex-husband, just relationships not working, certainly avoiding certain conversations and living with that weight throughout her life. And then lo and behold, you got anxiety and depression, and she's feeling stuck in her life. She had no hope. She wasn't able to feel comfortable in social situations. She wasn't, like I said, not on speaking terms with her brother and her ex-husband, no workability in many of her family dynamics. Basically, she was isolated and out of contact with her ex-husband. And within 2 weeks of enrolling, she basically restored integrity with those relationships and was blown away by the results and how easy and workable her life became. She started seeing opportunities, meeting new people. People started wanting to hang out with her, and she got invited to certain events and places. It was just, her transformation over a 2-week period, it was crazy. After 4 weeks was unbelievable. Now, this was a picture that she sent me of her and her brother during her first meeting and her first Christmas in almost a decade with her brother. And she's reconnected with her ex and restored integrity again. And the ripple effect that this has had on her life and the way she feels. And the cool part is, she sent me a message recently saying that she actually feels comfortable in social situations, doesn't want to isolate. She's there for others. It's like a weight has been lifted off. No more anxiety, no more panic attacks, no longer depressed. Her power is back, her freedom's back. And it's just amazing what happens when you make that shift. Because if you leave this part out, if you don't restore integrity, you actually feel incomplete and self-conscious. Social situations become increasingly awkward. You have a tendency to isolate yourself because you just aren't whole. You don't feel whole. You feel unworthy, and the feelings of I'm not good enough permeate through every area of your life, impacting your health. And then guess what? It trickles into your finances, because your self-worth and your net worth are very heavily tied together, and you feel disconnected and unable to have authentic relationships. Now it's gut check time. It's time to look in the mirror, because it doesn't matter everything you know about the law of attraction, how many counselors or doctors you've been to, how many books you've read, how many times you've repeated your story of suffering or told somebody or done any affirmations. If you're not willing to take immediate action, then nothing changes. Your results will depend on it. It's really all of these people who've had results, they took action without any reason, just because of their highest version of themselves was the forefront of their mind. Amanda was another example, another case study. July 2015, when I met her, she was a single mom of 2 kids, completely out of work, barely making ends meet. She didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, depressed and anxious, completely lacking purpose. And it was a pretty sad sight, but she went through these shifts. And the old way, basically, what you do when you're in that situation, what do? You go breathing exercises, you do counseling, you do doctors, you do medication, yoga, meditation, exercises, writing forgiveness letters and burning them, seminar after seminar after seminar. But the new way of what we do, she connected to her soul purpose statement, cleared resentment from her mother using the overview method. She restored integrity into family dynamics, took action in her morning rituals, invested in her education and mentoring, and she cleaned up her finances. Now, 1 year later, just mind-boggling, seeing the way that Facebook comes up, because I'm following her. She posts up the 1-year memories. She's moved into a big new house, got engaged, promotions at work, and is now upgrading to become a full-time coach, helping others transform the exact way that she did. And of course, she loves to put up these little postings, and I'm following. We're all cheering her on. This is Justin, her fiance. She said yes. And then a photograph of her beautiful new home in disbelief. All of this happened within a week of each other, all within 1 year of getting started. And doing the work. It's amazing. Not everybody's willing to do the work, but when you put the time and effort into it and get the right help, you actually see results. Now, let's recap. What do we talk about? The first 3 shifts that you need to make in order to transform anxiety, depression, overwhelm, stress, depression, all of that into your best year ever, into powerful alignment. Number 1, you got to have a soul purpose statement with specific morning rituals that are custom built for you. You need to clear resentment. You also have to restore integrity to all relationships that have been broken down. Shift number 4, you got to get over yourself. And what I'm talking about is dissolving guilt and regret. Now, guilt and regret is beating oneself up. It's one of the most common emotional connections to depression an autoimmune illness. It's that dark passenger, your shadow, that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. Now, many autoimmune conditions go into remission after clearing guilt. When I discovered this in my practice, I was like, okay, we got to let the world know about this. Autoimmune conditions, which is the body attacking itself, can go into remission or clear altogether when you clear guilt. We're talking food sensitivities, all of that stuff. Now, it's not a treatment for it. I'm saying they go into remission because of the emotional connection to the story of guilt and regret. Now, unresolved guilt paralyzes your self-worth, which in turn, like we say, paralyzes your net worth, because financial health is impossible if we're holding on to unworthiness and guilt. It's pretty mind-boggling, the damaging effects of guilt and regret. That was one of the things I had to go through when I went through my paralyzing anxiety. I had to sit there and do the work, get the help, and do the work on dissolving the guilt of the choices that I made. Anything that you feel guilty for, anything that you're regretting is a obstacle, is a barrier to your well-being, and it's just holding you back, and that needs to end, because when you get it right, you stop judging yourself harshly. Your negative self-talk completely fades away. You get paid more. You're more present with other people because you're not always constantly judging yourself. What do they think about me? What's everyone going to think? Oh my gosh, looking good, being right. These are all symptoms of unresolved guilt and regret. It's crazy. You solve your relationship with food. This is a crazy one, because sleep, check this out. Let me talk about food for a second. If you don't love yourself, if you are beating yourself up, what kind of foods are you wanting to eat? Are you eating foods that nurture you, or are you eating foods that are trying to cover up that horrible feeling? And plus, you don't give a crap about yourself anyway, so you treat your body like it's a garbage dump. You won't exercise. It's pretty crazy. Your sleep improves dramatically overnight, so to speak. I couldn't sleep. I was just struggling with insomnia, and when I dissolved guilt, dissolve the regret, all of a sudden I got deep sound sleep. That bitch ditch I talked about cleared. Those dark circles under my eyes cleared. Now I'm catering to those who have that, like myself, have a little bit of vanity. If you don't care about your health and it's just about your vanity, well, guilt will destroy your sense of looks, and your physical appearance just turns to crap because you don't really want to take care of yourself. If you saw that picture of me, I had bedhead even at a family function. It's crazy. Autoimmune disorders start to become asymptomatic or heal. This was the biggest aha realization, discovery. It was amazing. Now, if you don't clean this up, you feel chronic pain and fatigue-like symptoms. That's right. Chronic pain and fatigue-like symptoms. Chronic pain is kind of a body's way of self-punishing because of guilt and regret. Another client of mine completely cleared her regret and guilt from her past, and lo and behold, her chronic pains went down by 80%. Sleep becomes almost impossible if you don't clean this up. You can't stand to look in a mirror. You destroy your relationship with yourself. This causes a breakdown in your relationship with others. It's unreal. You don't practice self-care, like I just mentioned. Your diet is poor. You have no motivation for exercise. You feel depression about the choices you made, unsettled about where you're at. And of course, as a byproduct, you're now anxious about your future. Now, Charles, this was a huge breakthrough. If you look up on YouTube and you search Dr. Nima PTSD, this was something I stumbled upon. Charles was in the US military, in the Marines, and a very high-ranking officer. He was suffering from PTSD from the Iraq War. I was sitting across from this guy, not really realizing. You can see the video. I didn't realize at the time what I was getting myself into. He's a pretty tough guy, and if you look at my face, I look like the enemy. So it wasn't even occur to me, but I went in there and I did an overview session with him, and we cleared basically his worst regret. He was basically suicidal, depressed, anxious after the regret of horrific acts he was a part of in the Iraq War. You think you got regrets? Oh, you got to listen to his on the YouTube link there. Just go Dr. Nima PTSD. It's a Ask Dr. Nima episode. You can check it out for yourself. It's all online. It's pretty amazing what he went through. And trust me, whatever you've done is nothing compared to what he had to live through. And we did an overview session, and we did overview sessions to clear one of the most troubling war scenes that he went through. There was many of them, but we went through the worst one together. And today, he's out of his rut. He's helping veterans with PTSD as a scuba instructor. He got out of his suicidal depression. He basically was just getting high, smoking weed, and isolating himself after this meeting that we were lucky enough and blessed enough to document with Stephen Gardner. What a transformation. Now, the fifth one, the fifth shift that is imperative for you is that there's always strength in numbers, is to get a mentor, join a community, and go all in. Now, you got to invest in a mentor. You have huge blind spots. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. A good mentor will give you good ideas and make sure you act upon them. That is what we call accountability, because you already know what you, quote unquote, should be doing. So why the heck aren't you doing it? If you look, nothing I've told you really is new. So why aren't you doing it? Answer, you don't have accountability. A great mentor will call your BS out and hold you accountable, there's that word again, and make you put skin in the game. In other words, you know you should be exercising, but when people aren't exercising and then they pay a personal trainer, they're damn well want to be seeing results because they got skin in the game. That's what it's called. So a great mentor will call you out and make you put skin in the game. A great mentor will also assemble a great team and a group of like-minded people with similar goals to support and challenge you. I'm not talking about support groups here. I'm talking about support and challenge. Stay away from support groups. They're just pity parties. If you want to stay stuck, get into a support group and just share your woe is me story. Just look for support, because a great mentor will challenge you, push your buttons, so that you also get to contribute to a community of like-minded visionaries to keep you, what? There's that word again, accountable. A great mentor will also help push you through fear, disbelief, overwhelm, and laziness, helping you get massive results. That was the critical shift that I took this summer that transformed everything for me. In fact, I got 3 mentors. I got a lot of skin in the game that forces me into action. Oh crap, I got a coaching call coming. I got to make sure I get my commitments completed, because it's really about staying committed. Because when you find the right fit, you feel like you're actually talking to a friend. And that's what it's like with me, with my clients. I actually feel like I'm a friend to them. We are just, there's a bond you just can't understand, especially when I take them through overview sessions. We go through past traumas, past resentments. You know, it's like you're reliving past events with that person. I know people all their lives because of that. It's like I'm great friends with my clients. They're also priced enough that it stretches you and powerfully invites expansion. I created the Overview Method Home Study course, and I priced it at around $300 to $500. And I was expecting, wanting to make this work available for people all over the world. And the unfortunate thing is, without any accountability, without much skin in the game, $300 to $500 doesn't motivate you to do the work. So the right fit actually prices it enough that's a little bit of a stretch, that it stretches you. If it's not stretching you, it's not expanding. And that is what's important. And when you find the right fit, there's a culture of non-judgment and allowance to be real, because your breakthroughs can only happen with trust. So completely non-judgmental, you share your truth, the things that you feel shame and guilt about completely are laid bare out in the open, because there's fostering of trust. And the work may be tough, but you're coachable, and trust in the process. You'll actually do the work when you find the right fit. And when you find the right fit, you become more fearless with each passing week, because you're held accountable, you're pushed past your comfort zone, and you become more fearless. And here's the crazy part. you're not always going to like your mentor. In fact, sometimes I hate my coaches because they push me beyond my comfort zone, because you won't always be comfortable. He or she isn't afraid to confront you, to push you into expansion. So it's not always about being liked, because the power of a great mentor is that mentoring brings you new ideas. You get that word again. The do-it-yourself doesn't really work because you don't really have accountability. You don't have any commitments, and you have no idea what obstacles are in your way and how to overcome them or break through inevitable resistance. Expect resistance, especially in the first 2 weeks of your mentorship, because it's tough breaking through that inertia and resistance to get your butt moving. Now, there's a quote. It says, everyone needs a coach. It doesn't matter whether you're a basketball player, tennis player, a gymnast, or a bridge player, or even a mom or a teacher. We all need people that will give us feedback. That's how we succeed. Guess who said that? Bill Gates. Pretty sharp guy. If it's good enough for Bill Gates, it's good enough for me. In fact, take a look at high performers, high achievers, the people that you look up to. Not one of them doesn't have a mentor. You gotta have a great mentor. You gotta have skin in the game. You gotta have accountability. Because if you get this wrong, the person, like a counselor or psychologist, who is really sometimes benefiting and happy if you keep coming in for 2 years, 3 years, dealing with the same issue, if you get it wrong, they allow you to run your story and try to give you a diagnosis, which basically keeps you stuck for the rest of your life, or distract you from the truth. You waste your time and money as you get no results. And you actually never feel like you're getting ahead in life if you don't have the right fit. Now, today I promised I was going to show you the 5 shifts necessary on how to clear anxiety, depression, and lack of purpose without doing years of counseling or therapy. I also promised that we were going to talk about an unconventional way of getting deep, sound sleep without medications, even if you have an overwhelming schedule and a lot on your mind. And I also promised that we were going to talk about the way to get your sparkle and soul back when you felt like you've lost it without having to take drugs or drink. I also promised how to connect deeper with yourself and have more authentic relationships with others, including your partner. And how to transition from being stuck in your life to taking action with power into fulfillment and impact. I also talked about the promise that I was going to share with you 4 critical pillars we've never been taught in school how to master in order to lead a life of power, freedom, and full self-expression without anxiety. Now, the 4 pillars with the 5th one here, the 5 shifts, what you need to win. Number 1, you need to create a soul purpose statement with specified morning rituals that are custom for you. You need to have a resentment-free mind. You also need to restore integrity within your relationships and learn communication strategies to restore integrity as you move forward, because it's going to happen again and again and again, because you're just a normal human being. So you got to have that communication. You got to have that ability to restore it when it's fallen off. And you got to dissolve all your regrets. That's those 4 pillars. And most importantly, you got to invest in a mentor. You need guidance. You need accountability. You need skin in the game. You need to be stretched. You need to have your first breakthrough in stepping through your fears and investing in yourself. Because if you aren't going to invest to solve a problem, it's just not going to work. These 5 shifts alone are all you need to do to create clear feelings of stress, depression, and anxiety during your transition and become powerfully aligned. So now you have a choice. You're at a crossroads. You basically can keep struggling, or you can stop suffering. That's Lucy there. That's my little dog. So how can I help? Well, my team and I have set aside some time over the next 48 hours to talk to you about how you can apply these ideas to your life starting today. The cost? It's free. Now, who this is for? It's not for everyone. who this is for. This appointment is not going to be for everyone. This is for people. Now, this sound like you. You must be absolutely committed to hitting your goals with total integrity and with a dedication to use the information to be better for others. And you must be fed up enough to want to start yesterday. In other words, it's not like down the road. No, you got to want to start today and take action right away. You must be on a path to reconnect more soul into your life. And you must be a leader, at least in the making. You must want to master the art of navigating through social stress, career stress, and financial stress, having your best year ever. And you must be willing to do the work and be coachable. So no sideliners, no victims, and you got to be willing to invest in yourself. Don't even assume that you're going to solve a problem if you're not willing to invest in it. You must be willing to get uncomfortable. Because if you think you're going to change and expand, can't expand without discomfort and pain. So you got to be willing to take it. I'm not gonna be, it's not gonna work. You and I are not gonna work. Sometimes it's tough love. I'm not the right fit for everyone. So you gotta make sure that you're prepared to get uncomfortable. And here's why we're doing this. So on the call, we're gonna help you get clarity on exactly what you want in your professional and personal life to look like. And we'll outline the exact steps you'll need in order to get there. You're gonna have a roadmap. That's going to be done after that call. We're going to get you clear on the exact thing that's in the way. That's the underlying root cause of why you're stuck in the first place and the solution you need to do to have a breakthrough. Some people have a breakthrough right away. Your breakthrough happens right away after that call when you decide to take action. And we'll start the process on putting soul back into your work and life so you're having more inspiring relationships. And if you want us to help you and we think it's a good fit, we may invite you to become one of the new clients we're taking on this month in our mastermind. In other words, not only are you going to benefit, but we're going to count on you to contribute to others as well. So you got to think, what is it that you would love to contribute to a powerfully aligned group of visionaries? So this isn't for everyone. Now, this is specific people that I'm going to ask that this session is not for. Number one, people who believe that prescription pills are the only answer. Are the answer, and this is what they've been told, this is what's going to be for the rest of their lives. No, it's just, this isn't for you. We wouldn't be the right fit. People who identify with their diagnosis and they use it as a crutch. They use it as a thing that they can blame, that they use as a justification. This isn't for you. People who want to make excuses why they're uncomfortable with the work, but I don't understand. But I'm not ready. This isn't for you. This is for people who are saying, this is scary, but I'm moving forward. And this isn't for people who insist on being right and making others wrong, playing victim. No victims, please. This is for definitely, this is not the place for victims and people who are not willing to invest in solving their problem, which I've mentioned before. Now, if we work together, you're going to be put through exactly the same process described that Charles, Amanda, Prabjhot, Didi, and Marie were put into that got them results. Now, it varies, results vary on how much you're willing to do the work, but we have a guaranteed transformation if you do the work, if you're held accountable. There's a satisfaction is guaranteed if you actually do the work. Now, you're going to notice massive results within your first 2 weeks. You just have to be willing to take action. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is to click on the link provided so that you can basically, here we go. Let me just provide it right there. And there it is. And I'm going to invite you to join that. Set aside some time over the next 48 hours. Now, the spaces are very limited, if you can't get in, send me a quick, if all the spots are full over the next 48 hours, send me a quick personal message or an email, and we're going to see what we can do if we can fit you in. But you got to sign up now. Spaces are very limited. Take action, and I look forward to seeing if we can get you powerfully aligned to clear yourself from anxiety, stress, depression, really to having your best year ever. So you basically, it's right there, bepowerfullyaligned.com/apply. Like I said, spaces are very limited. Sign up now. Now, I was gonna leave space for questions, but really I'm leaving this space open over the next 48 hours. If you have any questions or concerns, we will handle them on your call. If this resonates with you, if you feel that you could make a contribution to a group so that you can live with freedom and power, express yourself, and transform from stress, anxiety, depression to having your best year ever, living powerfully aligned, I'd love for you to join us. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the next perfect time.